Tico just talked, and one of the most asked questions has finally been answered: the release of Tier 2. Because of this, I'm going to talk about the things that you need to get ready before Tier 2 starts, and you're going to want to listen, especially if you're a free-to-play player. Also, I want to talk about the different important things that he mentioned in the video, such as some huge PvP updates, quality of life updates, and many more to hopefully clear up some confusion and add my thoughts in the update. With that, let's get straight to the video. First of all, let's get to the juiciest part of the update, which is the secret update that they added. The jiggle physics from the latest skin. Just look how amazing this is.
Name 5 women that feel safe being in a room alone with you.
I don't know 5 women.
Kidding aside, let's talk about Talandre. Talandre is a new region that will be released in the near future where we could explore new areas with new progression on the story for our PvE enjoyers. But here comes the bad news because you don't know what you signed up for. You're about to cry your balls off for asking for Tier 2 to get released this quick because I know damn well that we are not ready for it. If you want to be ahead, then you should stack up every upgrading materials that you have right now, because even if you saved every materials that you have at the release, you still won't have enough to fully upgrade your things. Sure, blessing stacking would help you to easily get traits, but that is not the main problem about the equipment. The main problem is the growth stones. I'm predicting that you need around 500 growth stones just to upgrade one piece of equipment. Yes, you heard that right. Just one piece of equipment for all that material. I was watching Cannon's stream and saw him being masochistic because he only used growth stones to upgrade a single Tier 2 weapons level to max. And this was the result.
This is what it cost us. It cost us 1,354 magic powder. Again, this is RNG dependent. We got pretty lucky on the last click, for example. 677 polished crystals, 677 rubrics, and about 40 million solent for one weapon. And you got to do that for all your gear.
Yes, you heard that right. You need that much materials to only upgrade one weapon, and you have like 12 more. So you also better stop gambling with your stones, because those stones that you farm on your daily contracts are going to run out quicker before you can say like and subscribe to Atlas, because you're going to need it to craft crafting materials for your growth stones. I cannot emphasize this enough. The grind to save materials right now for Tier 2, if you want to advance as much as possible, is going to be long and tedious. Personally, I think that this is the point where we will feel a bit of the pay-to-win aspect of the game, especially if you're a PvP enjoyer. Though you won't feel it as much when playing on a large scale, our arena enjoyers are definitely going to feel the equipment difference from a pay-to-win versus a free-to-play player. The only good news that I see is we're definitely not going to run out of content anytime soon because of how hard we need to grind just to fully level our Tier 2.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa!
That's too damn bad!
I don't really care if the game is going to be grindy at that point forward. I just want the grind to be fun for me to not get burnt out. If you're thinking of changing your class, I suggest doing it on Tier 2 and making sure that you really like that class and religiously follow it even though sometimes you feel like shit, assuming that you're a PvP Andy that can't afford to be behind to be relevant. This is probably going to be the culling where we would be able to see which players will last and be able to handle the grind. Another PvP update. Field bosses like Adentis, Talus, and Malakar are now going to be a GVG instead of a world event to avoid mega alliances from just soloing the loot and being assholes thinking that they're better just because you can't wipe them when they're 400 players strong. This could definitely be a good update or the worst update that they're going to release. The first problem that I see is the matchmaking. How are you going to choose who fights who? Because if one guild has 40 players online, they're definitely going to wipe the floor with the guild that only has 14 people able to attend the bosses. I think that the developers are going to have a hard time balancing the matchmaking. One thing that they could do to make it easier is to treat it like it's an inter-server Riftstone fight. My second suggestion to balance this is, instead of a 1 versus 1 guild versus guild, I would recommend having 3 guilds fighting each other for more outplay potential on the weaker guild in each server. Third, I hope that the respawn timer is going to be longer than the current one, at least in the inter-server Riftstone fights and field boss guild versus guilds, because currently, wiping the enemy feels good, but it almost doesn't do anything because they're just going to be back in the next 15 seconds. This is the main reason why our inter-server Riftstones almost always end up in a draw, because we don't have enough time to PvE the boss. And while it's smart to shake hands with the enemy and just pump the boss for the Lucent, it doesn't feel fun. But personally, I like that our guild doesn't do this because it is not the intended mechanics given to us by the developers. Which is why adjusting the respawn timer could fix this problem, and even just making the boss a bit more squishy could also be a good update for the content. In my last video, I talked about how 7 runs of dimensional trial runs is a really dumb weekly mission, and suggested changing it to Tier 2 dungeon runs instead. I saw that many players agreed with me with this change in the comment section. That is why I'm really happy when Tico announced that we are now getting chests on dimensional trial runs to try and reduce the overwhelming daily task that we need to do. This would definitely ease the daily grind of the players. I feel like our suggestions have been heard very well by the development team, showing us that they really care about what the players think. What fascinates me the most in this update, other than the PvP changes, is when they mentioned that they're working on a system where you could progress your character through PvP, PvE, or a mix of both. I am a huge PvP fan, and when runes were released, the grind to get to the max level was too much for me, so I decided to just farm them whenever I'm feeling motivated or I have extra time. This is because PvE in this game is just not for me, at least for now. That is why I was never a fan of burning abyssal tokens. I do them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I like doing it. I do look forward to their, quote-unquote, making burning abyssal tokens more fun, as they said in the video. Another thing that Tico covered is the server merges. I know that a lot of people are waiting for server merges, but sadly they didn't announce any planned server merges currently. What they did announce is they're going to be giving a free transfer ticket to players for a certain period of time with no restrictions, meaning early servers are now able to transfer on our standard servers. I wish this was announced earlier because we just left our server last week for the lack of PvP in the server, and half of our alliance has already transferred into a new, much more lively server, wasting 750 Lucent transferring early before Tico talked. Overall, the update gave us something to look forward to in the next month. To summarize everything, Tier 2 is going to be coming on February with the expansion of Talandre. Everyone is going to feel like shit farming for Tier 2 equipments because we're definitely not ready. But then again, I don't think that we'll ever be ready with the amount of materials that we need to farm to get our full Tier 2 gears. I just feel like pay-to-win and free-to-play players will now have a huge noticeable gap if Tier 2 releases this early. Currently, with the materials that I got, I could only fully level 4 equipments at max if my luck is average. February is definitely going to become a big update for Throne and Liberty for the better or the worse. The culling will begin in February, and whether you quit or not, I hope that you're choosing the option that you're happy with. What do you think about these changes? Do you think that this is a positive change? Or this could ruin Throne and Liberty as we know it because of a certain update? I definitely think that this update is mostly positive, with the only negative being the GVG on-field boss thing being the problem. What about you? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Also, I didn't talk about the targeting changes because we all know it's still not going to get fixed, but let's be Delulu, and maybe it could become True Lulu. With that, here's my final message to the Throne and Liberty team for a job well done.
Pull your pants down, stick your booties out, and make a circle. I gave everybody a high five on the ass. I said,